Welcome to Deep Thoughts, a podcast designed to take you on an introspective journey into the mindsets and strategies that fuel personal growth. In every episode, we'll explore the intersection of psychology, spirituality, and real-world tactics, guiding you through powerful methods to elevate your health, wealth, relationships, and overall well-being. From deep dives into transformative habits and mindsets to candid discussions about the challenges we face in today's fast-paced world, Deep Thoughts is here to remind you of the untapped potential that lies within. If you're ready to disconnect from the distractions and connect with the tools and insights needed to create lasting change, this show is your sanctuary for self-discovery and empowerment. Tune in, reflect, and take action towards a more vibrant and fulfilling life.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going deep on something a lot of you have been asking about, how to deal with energy vampires.
Oh, energy vampires.
And I don't mean like the kind you see in movies.
Right.
We're talking about those people and situations that just kind of leave you feeling drained, like your battery's been totally zapped. You know, it's clear you guys are ready to not just spot these vampires, but really protect your energy. And honestly, that's the best superpower, right? To be able to protect your energy.
Absolutely.
So have you ever run into one of these energy vampires? In your own life, I mean.
Oh, absolutely. I think we probably all have, even if we didn't have a name for it before.
Yeah, right.
The thing is, they're not always bad people. It's more about their patterns of behavior. Recognizing those patterns that can, sometimes bring us down.
That makes sense. So it's not about labeling someone as the villain or whatever. It's more about understanding how certain interactions affect our energy.
Exactly.
One of the sources you sent in uses this great phrase. It's called emotional residue.
Ooh, I like that.
It really captures that feeling you have after spending time with someone.
Yes, that lingering feeling. It's a powerful idea. Think about it. After you interact with someone, do you walk away feeling energized, inspired?
Yeah.
Or do you feel drained and irritable? Maybe even a little guilty. Paying attention to that, how you feel afterward, is really key to recognizing these energy vampires.
It's like that feeling of, I don't know, trying to have a conversation in a really noisy room. You walk away feeling mentally exhausted, even though you haven't physically exerted yourself.
Exactly.
So how do we get better at spotting these metaphorical noisy rooms?
Well, your sources, actually, they give some really good breakdowns of the types of energy vampires out there. Like you've got the constant complainer, always focused on the negative. The drama magnet, who thrives on chaos.
Oh, those are tough.
Then you've got the overly dependent person, relying on you for everything. And then the classic passive-aggressive type.
Oh, wow. That list is already hitting a little close to home.
Right.
But I'm guessing each of those types, they drain our energy for different reasons, right?
Exactly. For example, constant complainers. They can actually lower your mood, make you feel hopeless. Think about that friend who calls you up every day to vent about the same problems.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be supportive, but you end up feeling emotionally burdened, like you've absorbed all their negativity.
It's not just about feeling bummed out though, right?
Yeah.
This can actually affect your energy levels and your ability to focus on things that matter to you.
You got it. Absolutely. And your sources highlight some really practical ways to spot these patterns in your own life. Ask yourself, after talking to this person, do you feel this weird sense of guilt? Like you should be doing more? Or how about that recurring frustration? Like you're constantly butting heads. Those are big red flags.
I'm definitely feeling seen right now. What about noticing shifts in your mood around certain people? Like your energy just plummets whenever a certain coworker walks into the room.
That is a classic sign. And it's not about being judgmental. It's about paying attention to those internal cues. Your emotions are trying to tell you something.
Okay, so this is all super insightful, but what can we do about these energy vampires? Because let's be real, some of them are probably people we can't just avoid altogether.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's where the real empowerment comes in. Learning how to protect your energy.
Okay, I am so ready for this.
One of the most important things, setting boundaries.
Boundaries.
And remember, boundaries are not selfish.
Okay, good.
They're a healthy way to protect your well-being.
Love that reframing. It's not about shutting people out. It's about creating a space where you can both thrive.
Yes. And there are a lot of ways to do that, to set boundaries.
Yeah.
One of the sources gives this great example. This woman set a time limit for phone calls with a friend who, she tended to overshare.
Yeah.
So she told her friend, hey, I've got 15 minutes to chat before I have to. And then you fill in the blank, whatever your real obligation is. What's up?
It helped both of them. Her friend got to vent, but within a contained time frame, and the woman protected her own energy.
That's brilliant. What are some other techniques the sources mention?
Well, one that really stands out is emotional detachment.
Okay.
Now, I know that might sound a little cold,
Yeah.
but it's about finding that balance between healthy compassion and getting totally swept up in someone else's drama.
That's a tough one.
It can be tough to stay grounded when someone is constantly pulling at your emotions.
Totally. But the sources offer some really practical tips. Like one I thought was really helpful was visualizing a protective shield around your energy. That is a great one. It's simple but powerful. Imagine it like an invisible bubble that filters out the negativity.
I love that.
And the sources also talk about mindfulness practices, like paying attention to your breath, grounding yourself in the present moment, which can help you stay centered when things get chaotic.
Those are all such great tools. But what about situations where you can't just visualize shield, like with a super draining coworker? You're kind of stuck with them.
Right. And that's where limiting exposure comes in.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean avoiding them completely. You might adjust how you interact.
Yeah.
Maybe opt for email instead of face-to-face.
Oh, smart.
Or choose to meet in a neutral setting like a coffee shop instead of your personal space.
That is so smart. It's all about being strategic.
Exactly. You're not being rude. You're being proactive. You're protecting your energy. And speaking of proactive, there's another strategy I want to touch on. It's one of my favorites, actually.
Okay.
Focusing on energy-boosting activities. What are some of the things that recharge your battery?
Ooh, I love this part. For me, it's getting out into nature, whether it's a hike in the woods or just sitting under a tree.
Nice.
And I'm a big fan of losing myself in music, putting on my headphones, just letting the sound wash over me. It's like an instant mood booster. What about you? What are your go-to energy boosters?
I'm with you on nature. Something about being surrounded by trees and fresh air just resets my whole system.
It's so good.
And believe it or not, I find cleaning and organizing incredibly therapeutic.
Really?
It's like I'm creating order in my physical space, and then that translates to a sense of calm in my mind.
I love that. And it's so personal, right? What energizes one person might totally drain another.
Yeah.
So it's important to figure out what works for you.
Absolutely. And the sources emphasize these energy-boosting activities. They aren't just a bonus.
Yeah.
They're an essential part of protecting yourself from energy vampires. Think of it like this. The more you fill up your own cup, the less space there is for other people's negativity to seep in.
Yeah. That is such a good point. It's like building up your energy reserves so you have more to draw from.
Precisely. Creating a buffer,
Yeah.
like a protective shield from the inside out.
Okay, that makes so much sense. But I'm noticing another theme in these sources. It's not just about external strategies, right? They talk a lot about the power of our mindset.
You're right. And this is where things get really interesting. So one of the sources talks about viewing challenges as learning experiences. Sounds a bit cheesy,
Yeah.
but I can see how it could apply to energy vampires.
Yeah, it's kind of a reframe, right? Instead of being like, ugh, this person is draining me, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this interaction?
Exactly. It's like leveling up your emotional intelligence. Each encounter becomes a training ground for developing better coping skills.
I love that. So it's not about seeing yourself as a victim of someone's negativity, but more like an opportunity to practice setting boundaries or strengthening your emotional resilience.
Exactly. You know, there's another powerful concept that the sources touch on that I think ties into this really well. The idea of emotional awareness.
Oh, tell me more about that.
It's all about tuning in to your own emotional state, noticing how you feel in different situations and around different people.
Okay.
And here's the really cool part. When you're more aware of your own emotions, you're actually better equipped to handle other people's energy, even if it's negative.
So instead of getting swept up in someone else's emotional storm, you're able to observe it from a calmer, more centered place.
Precisely. And this allows you to make conscious choices about how you want to respond, rather than just reacting automatically.
That makes so much sense. It's like building a protective buffer between your emotions and someone else's. But wouldn't that make us kind of detached and uncaring?
Not at all. In fact, one of the sources makes a beautiful point about how emotional awareness can actually enhance our empathy. It allows us to understand where the other person might be coming from without getting sucked into their negativity.
Okay, that's really insightful. So it's not about shutting down our feelings or becoming indifferent. It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of both ourselves and others.
Exactly. You know, speaking of understanding, the sources also mention something called nonviolent communication as a potential tool for navigating those tricky energy vampire interactions.
I've heard that term before, but honestly, I don't really know what it means.
Well, at its core, nonviolent communication is all about expressing your needs and feelings in a clear and compassionate way, while also being open to hearing and understanding the other person's perspective.
So it's less about blaming or judging and more about creating a space for open and honest dialogue.
Exactly. It can be a really powerful way to shift the dynamic in a relationship. Instead of getting caught up in a power struggle, you're focusing on finding common ground and working towards a solution that works for both parties.
That sounds incredibly valuable, especially in those situations where you can't just avoid the energy vampire.
Absolutely. And, as we're talking about these different strategies, it's starting to feel like there's a deeper layer to this whole energy vampire thing.
You're totally right. It's not just about surface level behaviors. It's about understanding the underlying dynamics at play. And speaking of deeper layers, one of the sources you sent mentioned this concept called shadow work.
Ah, yes. Shadow work. This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But I also have to admit, the term shadow work sounds a little intimidating. What exactly does it entail?
Well, in a nutshell, shadow work is the process of looking inward and examining the parts of ourselves that we tend to hide or deny. It's about bringing those hidden aspects into the light of our awareness so that we can heal and integrate them.
So it's kind of like facing our inner demons. That does sound a bit daunting. What does this have to do with energy vampires?
That's a great question. And it's where the connection to energy vampires gets really fascinating. The sources suggest that the types of energy vampires we attract might actually reveal something about our own shadow selves.
Whoa, okay, my mind is officially blown. So if I consistently find myself surrounded by complainers, what might that say about me?
It could be a sign that you have a strong inner critic, a voice inside your head that's constantly focusing on the negative. Or maybe you have a tendency to take on other people's problems, which makes you a magnet for those who are always looking for someone to rescue them.
This is making me think about all the different types of energy vampires we discussed earlier. The drama magnets, the overly dependent types, the passive-aggressive folks. Could it be that we're actually drawn to these people because they reflect something back to us about ourselves?
That's exactly the idea behind shadow work. It's not about blaming ourselves or the other person. It's about using those patterns as valuable information for personal growth.
So it's like those energy vampires are holding up a mirror, showing us aspects of ourselves that we might not be fully aware of.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Yes.
And by becoming aware of those patterns, we can start to make conscious choices about how we want to interact with those people, and more importantly, how we want to heal and grow ourselves.
This is deep stuff. It feels like we're moving beyond just managing our energy and into the realm of real self-discovery.
You're absolutely right. And what's really exciting is that all of this, the strategies, the mindset, shifts, the shadow work, it all comes back to empowerment. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose who you let influence you and how you manage your energy.
You know, when we started this deep dive, I was mainly focused on figuring out how to deal with those draining people in my life. But it's turning into so much more than that. It's like we're uncovering a whole new way of understanding ourselves and our relationships.
I think that's the beauty of this work.
Yeah.
It's not just about fixing a problem. It's about embarking on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
I love that.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What are some practical steps our listener can take to start applying these insights to their own life?
Well, first off, it's important to remember this is a journey. It's not like a destination.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to become like an energy vampire ninja overnight.
Yeah, exactly. It's about those small changes, but meaningful changes you make over time. And start with that emotional awareness. We were talking about that, just paying attention to how you feel around different people and in different situations. That's like the foundation for everything.
Absolutely. I think that's so important to just notice, like, oh, wow, I feel really drained after talking to that person.
Okay. And you know what else can be really helpful? Journaling.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah. Like after you have an interaction and you just feel drained, just jot down some notes. Like what happened? How did you feel?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? What could you have done differently? It's a great way to start recognizing those patterns.
Totally. And then once you've kind of identified those patterns, then you can start like experimenting with those protective strategies that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like setting those boundaries, visualizing that shield.
But that's it. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Exactly. And don't forget those energy boosting activities, those are like so crucial for building up that resilience. It's like putting on your oxygen mask first before helping others.
I love that.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't. So true.
So make sure you're prioritizing the things that fill you up, whether it's nature, music, whatever it is.
Exactly. And as you start implementing these strategies, you might be surprised by what you discover about yourself.
I bet. The sources talked a lot about how this whole process can lead to some major personal growth.
It's true. It's so true. When you start paying attention to your energy, you become more aware of, your needs, your values, your boundaries.
Yeah.
It's like you're peeling back the layers and getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
Ooh, I love that analogy. It's like this whole energy vampire thing is actually like a gateway to self-discovery.
And, the more you learn about yourself, the more empowered you become to create a life that really aligns with who you are.
It's not just about surviving energy vampires. It's about thriving, in all areas of your life.
Exactly. Recognizing your worth, knowing that you deserve to feel energized and fulfilled.
I love that. Well, on that note, I think that is a perfect place to wrap up today's deep dive.
It is.
You have the power to choose how you spend your precious energy. So choose wisely.
Yes.
Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Don't be afraid to set those boundaries.
To our listener out there, remember, you're not alone. We all encounter energy vampires. It's just part of life. But with the tools and insights we've discussed today, you have the power to navigate those encounters with grace and resilience.
And most importantly, be kind to yourself. It's a process. Celebrate those victories, learn from those challenges.
Exactly.
And keep moving forward.
Until next time, stay energized and keep shining your light.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.